Hey everyone, Hobo4Craft, aka MrHobo here, and I'm going to be answering the questions that were posted on the comments of my questions for Mr. Hobo video. Just want to thank everybody who did post a comment, and I did get a fair amount, so that's good. And kind of a little off topic, just about comments in general. I do read every single comment that is posted to my videos and to my channel and any PMs that are sent to me. So even if I don't respond to them, I do read all of them and I do think about them. Even if I already said that even if I don't respond to them, but I just want to throw that out there because some people don't go through all their comments and stuff, but I feel it's pretty important to read everything that the viewers are saying. So yeah, just want to throw that out there. Oh, and also something about subscribers. Thank you so much, guys, for 300. I know it's kind of late, but lately, normally I go through my email and thank you guys personally on your channels by posting a comment like, "Hey, I really appreciate the subscribe." Or the sub rather, or thanks a lot. I'm grateful for it because I am. But lately, like after around 300 or around 290, my email stopped telling me when people subscribe to me, and sometimes I just get a couple, even though like 20 people have. So I'm sorry if I don't thank you personally. I can't like remember everybody else who did, and then like go through and like, oh, this is the new person. But yeah, so I just want to apologize about that, and it's kind of important to me to thank you guys personally, but I'll give an informal thanks to everybody right now. Thanks. But anyway, into the meat of all of it. Um, we're going to go into the questions, and like I said, I do have email on my phone. It's directly linked to my YouTube, and I did save all of them into a separate folder so I could read them easily, but it got deleted somehow. So I went onto the video page and I wrote them down. So some of them were kind of long, so I basically got the meat of the questions. So sorry if I paraphrase your questions, but let's go. Bobo Dude 991 asks, what to do as a Protoss versus Zerg? At least I think that's what he was asking because he was asking what to do in PvZ. So, or no. Huh. Um, no, he was Zerg. He was Zerg. I'm almost positive. And if not, sorry, send me a PM and I'll answer you what to do PvZ. But, okay, Zerg versus Protoss. I generally like to go Mutalisk and Ling. Mutaling. Uh, because I'm generally able to defend my fast expansion with speedlings, and if he's pushing hard, I can throw down some spine crawlers. But if he pushes like way too hard, like a 2 gate, that can be very hazardous, especially if you've already put your expo up, because it's hard enough to defend against a regular push, let alone a fast zealot push from that 2 gate. So that can be kind of risky. And normally, when I do go mutiling, it seems that the whole game comes down to that first really hard push, where they come out with you know, 5 or X number of stalkers, like 4 zealots and a couple sentries, and um, it's at your expo, and you generally see this a lot in Lost Temple, where it's just this big battle, and then he'll throw down a pylon so he can keep warping in units. If you can hold that off, you'll definitely be good. But yeah, I do like to go mutiling because it lets you play kind of how based on how they're going to play, which is how I personally like to play. I call it playing reactionarily, because if I see him coming at me or he's building up a lot of units, then I'm just going to throw down a bunch of Zerglings and some Spine Crawlers and some extra Queens so I can transfuse. Um, but if not, I can go to Mutalisk, and then I can harass him the whole game, be scouting around, knowing exactly what he has, when he's pushing, and which that's really important for Zerg because we don't have scan and we don't have observers. We have to use overlords, which you need to upgrade for, or an overseer, which you need to upgrade, and that's kind of a pain. So Mutalisks kill a couple birds with one stone, so that I like that. But if you feel that he's pushing too hard, generally it's much less time consuming and more resource efficient to go attack into Hydralisks. You can definitely easily get high ground and abuse that, especially on maps like Metalopolis or Lost Temple. Plus, Hydralisks just do a ton of damage. And like I said, train more quickly and cost less. And they will generally survive more quickly against Stalkers. The only thing you have to fear when you go mass Hydra is that there's probably going to be a Colossus or Colossi on the way. So you are going to probably eventually need a Spire anyway, so that you can get Corruptors to take out that Colossus. And what was I saying? What was I saying? So yeah. So you can go Hydras if you're feeling you're gonna be pressured really heavily on, and you're generally after that you're gonna be massing them and maybe attack to roaches if you need defense against charge lots or something like that. And later corruptors if he does go colossi. So yeah, I think I made that a lot more complicated than I need to, or maybe too in depth. But anyway, Iron Core 1 asks, what are some, well, he asked a couple questions actually. First he asked, what are some StarCraft 2 strategy websites? Well, the one I suggest is, it's not really a StarCraft 2 strategy website. It's more of a very, it's an active forum where you can get a lot of feedback when you ask questions. WCReplays.com. I'm on there, so I'll definitely be able to answer your questions. And there are a lot of different topics and a StarCraft 2 section you can ask a lot about, a lot of questions. Um, but other than that, I would say TeamLiquid.net does have a lot of technical like build orders set up that you can look at, and does this work? No. Why? Could it work? Yes. If you did this, it has a lot of that kind of stuff. So I think that would be really good for you. Check out TeamLiquid.net. He also asked how long I've been playing StarCraft 2. I've been playing StarCraft 2 beta since I want to say April, obviously until it ended, and then I got StarCraft 2 right on release. So I did join beta kind of late, but I had been playing StarCraft 1 ever since it came out. But I was like 5 or 6 when it came out, so obviously I wasn't very competitive or very or analyzing the game very hard. So yeah, I wasn't very competitive in the old StarCraft or Brood War. But his next question is a really interesting question. He asks, what race suits different styles of play, such as aggressive play style, defensive? Excuse me, I kind of lost my voice the other day, but I do think that's a really interesting question, and I just want to state that you can play any race, any type of style. Like, you can play Zerg defensively. It's not impossible. You can play Protoss defensively. You can definitely play Terran defensively, and you can definitely play Terran aggressively, etc., etc. But I would say that off the bat, Zerg is kind of a mix between the two, because in the early stages of the game, you're generally going to be macroing up and trying to get some map control and just out expo your opponent, generally, unless you're going for like a Baneling bust against a Terran or a 6 pool or something. So yeah, generally Zerg is defensive in the first half of the game, like I said earlier, especially against PvZ, and aggressive in the late game when you have all those expos and can pump out so many units. I would say that Terran is, for the most part, uh, uh, defensive, and you'll hear the word passive used with Terran a lot because Terran likes to kind of lay back and get the exact composition that they want, and they kind of set the pace as far as aggression goes. because they can just defend and then wait until they want to push out. Um, and but like I say that because I'm a Zerg player. But a Protoss player would say that Terran is really aggressive because Terran likes Marine Marauder Medevac pushes, MMM pushes against Protoss. They favor that heavily because normally it's a quick win if you play it well, if you got the right timing, if you have the right composition, and Protoss does have trouble against that. So like I said, it's relative to your perspective. Oh my gosh, my throat. But I would say just flat out in general, Protoss is an aggressive race with that warp gate technology, and being pretty versatile. I would just say that yeah, they're aggressive. So overall, Zerg half and half. Um, Terran defensive, Protoss aggressive. He also asks, how much practice would it take to become a bro? Well, that's kind of a very vague question. Um, But I just want to state that some Korean pros, I know in Warcraft 3, like people like Moon, they would train like up to over 10 hours a day, like 13 hours a day. Not uncommon. They did do it for a living, so I mean, you're going to have a lot of free time. And players in Korea, such as Idra, I mean, they grind a lot. Like, rather than like being more creative and innovative, they like to just be very precise and nail it in your head until you understand the strategy perfectly and you can execute it very well. So I would say it's going to take a lot of practice unless you're very intuitive and creative with your play and you can learn quickly, but it would still take a lot of time to be able to practice very frequently and keep up and keep pace. So, yeah. He also asked his final question, what does APM mean? That means actions per minute. It's it's a pretty vague way um, to calculate how well you micro. It can be off sometimes because people spam, quote unquote, where they just like mash a bunch of buttons in the beginning of the game. But some people have low APM, but that's because they don't spam, but they have the correct keys that they use for micro instead of just using a bunch of worthless ones. They use the right clicks and all that. So, but yeah, APM means micro, basically, and macro actions per minute. Uh, Quicksands asks, are stalkers a good counter to roaches? Well, this depends, but right off the bat, I'm going to say yes because uh, do you guys like my epic 3% achievements of campaign? But anyway, stalkers are definitely more mobile than roaches early on in the game, and as a Protoss, you'll generally only be facing roaches um, in the early stages of the game because, like I said earlier in the ZVP question, it's normally mutilating or hydraling. Um, but yeah, stalkers are more mobile, and you can definitely out micro a roach with some stalkers. But roaches do a lot of damage, and they can take a lot of hits, so that's why out microing is important. And if it's later in the game, blink will definitely play a factor. Glial reconstitution will definitely play a factor, which is the roach speed upgrade. And the amount of creep spread out on the map, making roaches faster, will definitely play a factor in the game. But yeah, probably the best ground unit counter to roaches would be immortals. But stalkers definitely can out uh, out damage roaches. Shadow Fango asks, ZVP or is Zerg versus Terran really overpowered like Idra complains about all the time? And I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say that Idra does have a lot of trouble with Terran,